Hello, this is Spartan Commander, and this is a 409th Rome Total War Brotherhood game that I've put onto YouTube. Just to say, this Sunday, tomorrow, the 22nd of September 2019, Rome Total War is 15 years old. I bet veterans watching this can hardly believe that. Yeah, 15 years old. And for the 15th kind of birthday celebration, I wanted to try and find a memorable, exciting battle to put on. And I hope I found it in this particular battle. Also in this battle, 7 out of the 8 players in this battle have played Rome Total War since the first day it came out. So 7 of us have been playing this game now for 15 years. And I just thought that was kind of an added little thing to this battle. Is as I say, hopefully it's a good, exciting, memorable battle, but with 7 of us that have played it from day one, I thought that kind of added a little bit more to it. And I hope you enjoy this battle. It should be a good one for you to watch. Okay, our first teammate is Brotherhood member Lee, and Lee has bought 14 infantry, 5 cavalry, and a cavalry general unit as well. Okay. You can see there's a cavalry general unit there, old school cavalry general unit. And our next teammate is Brotherhood member STEVELONGSHANKS, and he's got 12 Spartans and 4 of the cheap archers. Okay, Steve's been persevering with Greek cities now for a few months and he's got very, very good with them. Those of you that have played against him will know how good he's got with Greek cities. And if you have a closer look at some of his units, you'll see that some of his units have got an experience stripe on. Now we know Spartans are serious infantry with their 2 hit points and everything, but you add a stripe to them and that makes them even more serious. Our third teammate is Brotherhood member Lando, and Lando has bought 20 urban cohorts. No archers, no cavalry, just 20 urban cohorts. So it'll be interesting to see how he does with those without any cavalry. And our fourth teammate is myself, Spartan Commander, who's bought the Greek cities faction, and I've got 14 Spartans and 5 of the cheap archers. Okay, it's a very old army there, but there's our team there. I'd just like to draw your attention here, though, to the cavalry deficit that we're facing. Okay, the only cavalry that we've got on our team is Lee's 5 heavy cavalry and his general cavalry unit, his armoured cavalry unit, and that's all the cavalry we've got. So we're going to be at a serious cavalry disadvantage. Now that could make the difference. At this stage of the battle, I thought we'd have a look at STEVELONGSHANKS' 12 Spartan units. Now if you notice that the 2 units at the front of his battle formation have just got 6 upgrades. That's gold shield, gold attack. But if you look at his other 10 units, he's got 7 upgrades. He's got an experience stripe, gold shield, gold attack on 10 of his units there. Okay, now we know Spartans with their 2 hit points, excellent specifications, are really good, and they fight really well with just gold shield, gold attack. But you put an experience stripe on those units, and that makes them ultra serious infantry there. And I think that's one of the reasons why Steve's being so successful with his Greek city units, is that experience stripe. Be interesting to see how well he does in this game. And here is the other team. We have Brotherhood member UTHER, who's bought the Rome Julio faction. Now UTHER's got 12 infantry, 6 cavalry, and 1 peasant unit. Just like to make a note that UTHER's Praetorian cavalry have got 8 upgrades on. So we know Praetorian cavalry do really good with just gold shield, gold attack, but you put 2 experience stripes on them, and that makes them ultra serious cavalry. You may well be looking at battle winning cavalry there. It'll be interesting to see how well he does with them during the course of the battle. Okay, their next teammate is Brotherhood member Cal, and he has bought the Rome Bruti faction. Now Cal has got 15 infantry and 5 cavalry. Okay, 15 infantry, 5 cavalry. Brotherhood member Bark has bought the Carthage faction, and now Bark has got 17 spearmen. Okay, he's got 17 spearmen, and I think he's got 3 light long shield cavalry hiding in the woods there. Okay, so 17 infantry and 3 light cavalry. And their fourth teammate is Brotherhood member Pompey, who's bought the Bruti faction. Now Pompey's got 4 cavalry, 2 archers, and 14 infantry. Okay, so there's the other team there. I'm sure you can see by the quality of the players in this game, this should be a great one to watch. Okay, at this stage of the battle, I thought we'd have a look at the players that have been playing Rome Total War since day one. We have Brotherhood member UTHER, we have Brotherhood member Cal, and we have Brotherhood member Pompey. Okay, and then we have Lee, Brotherhood member Lee, Brotherhood member Lando, Brotherhood member STEVELONGSHANKS, and myself. So 7 of us here have been playing Rome Total War for 15 years, and we're still playing it now. So it'll be interesting to see how well we do during the course of battle. Of course, there are other Brotherhood members that are still playing it from the first day it came out, and that's JGP, ONNAC, KENDY, and Spartan LEONIDAS. All of them have been playing it from day one. Okay, at this stage of the battle, I thought we'd have a look at the cavalry difference here. You can see 2 there for Carthage, 3 there for Carthage, 4 for Pompey. So that's 7 so far. Okay, 3 and 4, 7 cavalry there so far, and then another 5. So that's 12 cavalry there so far, and then another 6. Okay, so that's 18 cavalry units there that the enemy have got. Okay, so that's 18 cavalry advantages they've got over our 6. Okay, so don't forget Lee's got 5 heavy cavalry and his general unit there, and that's what we've got against 17 or 18 cavalry units of the enemy team. Okay, yes, we've got 2 anti-cavalry factions in our Greek cities factions there, but if the enemy use their cavalry advantage in coordination with their infantry, then that could well make the difference towards the end of the battle. So it'll be interesting to see how well they use their cavalry and infantry in coordination there. As I say, if they do that, it could make all the difference there. You know, Lando's a very aggressive player here. We know Lee is a very aggressive attacking player, and we know Steve is as well. So I'm in a team here with 3 very aggressive players here. We've seen these 3 in other battle videos, always taking the fight to the enemy, always being aggressive. So it'll be interesting to see how well they do today. Okay, at this stage of the battle here, you can see that Bark is moving his light cavalry very slowly, kind of trying to not be noticed too much there around our flank. What he'll want to do with that light cavalry is get in behind us, and maybe when we're not expecting it, he'll probably use that light cavalry to smash into our archers. That would be his aim there with that light cavalry, to get in behind us so he can target our archers. And of course, if he sees any of our units engaged, he could always smash into the rear with that light cavalry as well. You can see Lee here using his old school our Roman armoured cavalry general. Let's say up to about 7 years ago, 8 years ago, we always used to bring these as our general, and then we changed probably about 8 or 9 years ago now to infantry generals. But as you can see, there's the enemy team. See Bark keeping his Carthage Sacred Band army at the back there, ready to bring it forward to target one of our Greek city factions there when he's ready. Right, you can see here Lando's put all 20 urban cohort units into Testudo. Newer players for Rome Total War, if you haven't seen a Testudo being formed, there you go. Can you see this is based on a real Roman formation here. If you look at that, it's all-round defense there against any kind of missile attack there. Very effective in real life as well as on RTW. Okay, at this stage of the battle, as we've just seen, Lando's put all 20 urban cohorts unit into Testudo, and he is now moving his whole infantry army towards the enemy here. Okay, as I said earlier, we know Lando, who is actually Brotherhood member Turbo, a lot of you know him as that, is very aggressive, as well as Lee and STEVELONGSHANKS. All 3 of them very aggressive players here. And you can see that Lando here is leading the attack, taking the fight to the enemy. Now we know Pompey's got cavalry hidden in those woods, and if Lando's not careful, I reckon those cavalry, because Pompey's also a very aggressive player, I think that cavalry could come out of the woods and smash into one of his Testudo units there. That is a possibility, because as I say, Pompey is very opportunistic, and as I say, a very aggressive player. Right, can you see his Brutio cavalry? He's just moved them now in the woods, so we can see them. He had them hide them in the woods, but the moment you move them, you can see them. Now see that cavalry? He's obviously going to go for this one unit here. With that weight of cavalry smashing into the flank, could rout that unit, and bang, as it smashes in there. It wouldn't surprise me if that SPQR unit routed there, and there you go. The impact there, the surprise, and the impact there routed that unit. Nice hit there by Pompey. Let's say when you fight on woods maps, you can spring ambushes like that. I thought that was a great little ambush there that Pompey did. Obviously, Lando didn't have any idea where Pompey's cavalry was there, and so when it came out like that, it was a good little ambush there by Pompey. Meanwhile, over on our right flank here, I remember seeing this Julii cavalry slowly moving through the woods there. Let's pause again for a second. And I remember saying to Lee, watch out for your general, because I thought that Uther was going to target his general there. And I spotted the cavalry, and I remember saying to Lee, watch out for that Julii cavalry and your general, because that's what I thought Uther was going to do, was target his general. But I don't think Uther is planning on doing that. I think Uther just wants to get those really well upgraded Julii cavalry in behind us. They're going to make the make the most of their cavalry advantage over us, I think, by moving their cavalry all over the battlefield. Remember, we've only got 6 cavalry, and they've got 17 or 18 cavalry. And as I say, that could make the difference towards the end of the battle when they coordinate their infantry and cavalry attacks. So say here, you can see I've moved my Spartans forward to support Lando's infantry as he moves forward there. As I say, as we know, Lando, as we said earlier, is very aggressive there, and he's taking his infantry forward in testudo towards Pompey's army. But don't forget, we've got that Brutii cavalry out to our left flank again, maybe looking to hit one of Lando's units, so we must be aware of that. Okay, let's just pause again for a second. So you can see there, you've got Pompey's cavalry there, maybe looking to move around to the left flank there. Make no mistake, they will make the best use of their cavalry advantage. You've got Burke's cavalry, light cavalry, as I say, looking out there to hit into the rear of our archers. And you've got Uther's 8 ups on every cavalry unit there in behind us as well, looking to smash into the rear of us when he gets a chance. If you notice here, Lee has seen the danger and is facing the enemy with his cavalry. If you notice here, Lee is facing our right flank there, just in case anybody tries a right flank in action. Steve moving forward as well with his Greek cities. He'd love to engage those Brutii infantry if he can. But as I say, with the enemy cavalry behind us, as I said, you can see Lee has spotted the danger there and is facing the danger with his own cavalry. And he's keeping his cavalry close to his infantry as well. Very old tactic that. If you find you're outnumbered by enemy cavalry, keep your cavalry close to your infantry, so if they attack, you've got infantry support close at hand. It should be a great one for you to watch, and I hope you enjoy it. Okay, at this stage of the battle, you can see Lando doing a left flanking action here. If you notice, I'm moving my Spartans with him as well, give him support here in that flanking action. It wouldn't surprise me if the enemy actually pulled back at this stage, rather than let themselves get flanked. And you can see, I think Lando's facing Pompey here. Pompey's the Brutii general, and of course Lando's our SPQ ally. Yeah, as we thought, can you see Pompey moving his infantry back? Obviously he doesn't want to be flanked there, so he's moving his infantry back there away from the threat of that flanking action by Lando. I think Lee's not being as aggressive as he usually is because he's keeping an eye on that enemy cavalry in behind us. He's already spotted Uther's 8 upgrades on those cavalry, so he knows that's serious cavalry, so he's keeping an eye on them for us. But as I say, you can see the enemy team here has moved back now, avoiding that flanking action that Lando was trying. And if you notice here, I've moved my Spartans over towards Lando there, so if he wants to continue with that flanking action there, I'll be there to support him. And as you can see here, Lando facing right there just in case Uther tries a flanking action of his own there. I think Lee was anticipating maybe some cavalry and infantry hits there, so that's why he's facing that way, to try and neutralise any flanking action by the enemy. But there you are, there's that menacing Julii cavalry. As I say, remember, 8 upgrades, 2 experienced stripes. So you see I'm taking my cheap archers forward there to target those Julii cavalry. Maybe even entice them closely to attack my archers there, where Lee can then counterattack with his cavalry, and we've got infantry there we could throw in as well. Okay, so you can see now the best thing for Uther to do is pull back now, because we've got, as I say, we've got infantry support there we could call on, and that's exactly what Uther's doing. Moving forward, being aggressive with his cavalry, but tactically withdrawing there at the right time, I think. As you can see, there's some SPQR infantry coming over as well. It wouldn't surprise me though if maybe Uther tried like a hit into our SPQR allies' cavalry just before the infantry gets there. He looks like he's thinking about it there, doesn't he? Looks like he's thinking about it, and then he decides to pull back. I think that's what he would like to have done, just to cause some casualties in with our SPQR allies' cavalry there. As you can see here, Lando's still moving forward with his infantry. You can see Steve and myself moving over there to support him as well. But if you notice here, can you see that Lee is taking his infantry over to support his cavalry against that seriously well upgraded Julii cavalry there? Okay. But now we've got to be careful that that Julii infantry and that small B army of Carthage Sacred Band units don't come round our right flank while Lee is watching our rear. Okay, the Carthage Sacred Band general there, Burke, he looks like he can see a possible advantage here to go into the flank of Steve's infantry with his support from his Julii ally there. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. My guess is that Lee will move his infantry back down there because he will see the threat to our team as well, I'm sure, at any time. But say you can see the enemy making the most of their cavalry advantage. They're tactically moving their cavalry around the battlefield, ready to hit when they're ready. Okay, at this stage of the battle, you can see we may have gone a little bit defensive here. Can you see here? Lando split his army into two as well. Can you see he's taking 10 of his units? I think 10 of his units over to that flank, and he's leaving 10 of his units on the flank that he was on. It looks like he's going to try and support Lee in an attacking tactic there. He knows I've got my Spartans there with his other 10 infantry units there to support that flank. But as I say, you can see Uther's cavalry there moving around. Make no mistake, Uther will be looking just right, the right opportunity to smash into the rear of our engaged troops. So as you can see here, remember what we said? Lando, Lee and Steve, all very aggressive attacking players. Well, you can see here Lando, look, taking the battle to the enemy here. As I say, he's split his 20 urban cohort army into two. He's got 10 units coming around here. But you must be aware of that Julii cavalry. See Uther's Julii cavalry there, probably looking to smash into the flank of him. Now, can you see here Lando's got his general unit there as well, which I'm thinking Uther would kind of like to target that general unit there if he could. But I'm thinking here that probably Lando spotted that Julii cavalry coming around there, and he'll probably send some infantry over there to try and neutralise any of the attack. You might notice that also Lee is moving his infantry army forward as well. So, as I say, half of Lando's army plus Lee's army there have kind of linked up over on our right flank there. But they, as I say, the enemy have got like a 17-18 cavalry against our 6, so they've got a massive cavalry advantage there. You can see them. You can see all their enemy cavalry there, ready to attack. Okay, then, so over here on our left flank, you can see that Lando's half army there is facing Pompey's infantry and cavalry there. You can hear Steve here being aggressive with his Greek city units. He really wants to get engaged with that enemy Brutii infantry. And you can see Lando and Lee have linked up over on our right flank here, moving around, maybe looking to do a right flank in action on the enemy. But also you can see the enemy cavalry locked and loaded. Okay, their enemy cavalry are locked and loaded, just ready to pull the trigger. So we must be aware of that because, as I say, good coordination with their cavalry and infantry, and that could be battle-winning tactics there. So as you can see, Steve here, he really wants to engage that enemy Brutii infantry, really moving forward towards them there aggressively. Also, if you can see, as I say, Lee and Lando moving around this flank as well. So the three of them there, as I say, showing very aggressive tactics there, moving towards the enemy. I should think the Brutii general here will move his cavalry back out the way. He doesn't want to be piloted by our SBQ or infantry. There you go. Cal tactically moving his cavalry away from any pilots there. But you can see here, can you see Steve moving his Greek city units forward there? As I say, you've got Lee and Lando coming around this right flank. As I say, very aggressive players, so they've linked up. And I say, Steve smashing into that enemy Brutii infantry there. Okay, it's just what Steve's wanting to do all the way through this battle here, is get really engaged with the enemy there with his Greek cities army. Okay. As I say, Lando, Lee and Steve, as we've said before, very aggressive players there, and you can see the way that they're playing here, that aggression is really coming through. Okay, but Steve here, can you see how he's advanced into the enemy lines? Now, he could be a little bit isolated there, because his flanks could be exposed to enemy attack. Can you see there, he could be held at the front where enemy Julii infantry could come round, or Brutii infantry could come round that flank there, and he could be a little bit isolated there if the enemy move fast. Okay, now I've spotted that, and I'll probably look to move my Greek cities units over to help him there. You can see Lando's half of his urban cohort army moving towards the enemy. You've got Lee's infantry and cavalry there. Lee keeping his cavalry once again in with his infantry. As I say, very old tactic there when you're outnumbered by enemy cavalry. Keep your cavalry in with your infantry, so if the enemy try to attack, you've got infantry support close at hand. Nice, as I say, old school tactic there by Lee. So it'll be interesting to see if the enemy do try to attack his cavalry there with his infantry so close. Okay, let's just start the game up again. Right, can you see here, as I say, Steve very exposed there, very possibly isolated there with his aggression there. His flanks could be a little bit exposed to attack. So if you notice here, I've spotted that I'm going to move my Greek cities units forward there to support him. But over on our left flank, can you see UTHER here and Pompey doing a combination attack? UTHER's well upgraded cavalry smashing into the rear of Lando's infantry, and if you notice that Pompey's moving his infantry forward into Lando's infantry, plus you've got 3 Brutio cavalry units ready to charge in as well. Now if they're not careful, Lando's going to lose all his units there. As you can see here, Steve looking exposed and isolated a little bit there if the enemy gets onto his flanks. But over here on our left flank is the main concern here, because Lando could lose basically half of his army there. There's 10 urban cohort units. Bang, as that Julii cavalry smashes in. Right now you can see the Brutio infantry going in, and bang as those Brutio infantry coming in. Hammer and kind of anvil attack there. Okay, you can see Lee bringing his cavalry over to support Lando, and I'm moving my Greek city units over to support him as well. But can you see that Brutio cavalry coming in from his flank, and bang as that smashes in. So basically, Lando's lost half of his infantry units there. Okay, can you see most of his infantry units that he had on that flank has now been routed by that concerted attack there by the enemy team. A nice cavalry and infantry attack there. Great coordination with that infantry and cavalry by the enemy team there. It's taken out a lot of Lando's army. Okay, so Lando had 20 urban cohort units there. He must have lost at least 8 there. As I say, Steve's still advancing into the enemy there, but as you can see, he could be flanked by enemy troops if he's not careful. He needs to watch that. As I say, being aggressive is great, but you've got to be careful that you're not isolated. You can see Lando's other half of his army there looking to move across to support the left flank there. But as I say, in that really good coordinated team play, infantry and cavalry attack there by the enemy team, they've routed a heck of a lot of Lando's infantry units there. So just like I say, really well done Pompey and UTHER, and really nice combination work there between well upgraded cavalry and Pompey's infantry and cavalry as well. That was a nice move there, nice bit of teamwork. But as you can see, we've got support over there to try and help as many of Lando's units as possible there. I think Lando might have 3 out of his 10 left there, so he lost 7 units there, plus he probably would have suffered a lot of casualties with those other 3 as well. So he basically has lost half of his army there. And you can see the enemy closing in now on his other 3 units there, and pressing in on my Spartans as well. If you notice, Lee and Lando's other half of his army have now moved over to this flank here, because they can see that the enemy are really aggressively attacking us here. Let's say with the enemy's cavalry advantage, if they can get in behind us here, they could cause a lot of mischief and a lot of casualties. You can see the cavalry up around there, around the rear of us here. You can see we formed up in a bit of a defensive kind of formation here against the enemy attack. Let's just pause the game for a second. Okay, so we've got Steve and my armies there are actually linked up, but here on our right flank, can you see we've got no units, just archers and some cavalry. So the enemy Julii infantry could move round our right flank at this stage. And you can see Cal's infantry there and Pompey's infantry there will be ready to attack. Plus, as I say, the enemy's cavalry advantage there. They're really moving their cavalry around the battlefield, looking for the best place to hit. But as I say, our right flank here, all we've got is archers and some cavalry units there. And if UTHER moves his Julii units around there, he's almost got a free run into the rear and flank of our units. But I think Lee has spotted that and is bringing his infantry over to kind of support that flank. And if you notice, Steve's moved back as well, trying to cover that flank at the same time. But as you can see here, we've basically formed quite a defensive formation here. And of course, once you form a defensive formation, then you hand the initiative to the enemy. the enemy now have got the initiative, and we can only react to them, forming a defensive formation as we have. You can see here, can you see the Carthage Barks Sacred Band here really attacking Steve's Greek City units there? Really concerted effort there. Let's pause the game for a second. So say you can see Sacred Band units really pushing in on Steve's Spartans there. I've got some Carthage Sacred Band units and Brutio units attacking my Greek City's formation. You've got Cal's army out there on our left flank ready to attack. And you've got Uther's army over on our right flank ready to attack. Okay, you can see the enemy cavalry at the rear. As I say, whenever I see enemy cavalry like that, I always think they're locked and loaded and just waiting for the trigger to be pulled before they charge in. Okay, so as I say, you can see we formed up a bit defensive here. And I say the enemy can now move around us and hit us where they want there, because of course they have now got the initiative. But my guess is here Steve probably do quite well against these Carthage Sacred Band. That's what I'm hoping for anyway. If he starts routing those Sacred Band, then that could give us an advantage. But as I say, you can see we have formed that quite defensively. And I think one of the reasons we've done that is because of the cavalry advantage the enemy team have got. Forming up defensively, at least we can kind of keep our units close together, and if we are hit by cavalry we can support each other quite quickly. So to say, sometimes in battle you need to form up in a defensive formation rather than be kind of an open play battle, if you see what I mean. Right, you can see, as I say, Carthage Sacred Band really pushing in on Steve's Spartans there, aggressively attacking his units, trying to break through there, trying to punch a hole through Steve's Spartans there. But remember, don't forget, 10 of Steve's Spartans there have got an experienced striped gold shield gold attack on, so I think they're going to hold pretty well there. But if you look round our defensive formation there, you can see a lot of enemy units are moving around very tactically, looking for chinks in the armour of our, if you like, of our defensive formation where they're going to hit. At this stage of the battle, I think we've all got our generals left at the moment, which is good. Where you can see here, you can see Uther moving his Julii infantry forward there. As I say, if you look at the enemy, the disposition of the enemy team here, you can see they're just looking ready to attack, and they look to me like they're going to target our SPQ, our allies, more than our Greek city units. They know that trying to attack Greek city units head on is not very good for Roman troops. And you can see a lot of the Carthage Sacred Band units have been routed. Right, can you see this enemy Brutio cavalry charging in, looking to target those SPQR units, trying to target those engaged SPQR units. See him going in, and bang! He smashes straight in to those SPQR units there. Okay, you can see the enemy are really aggressively attacking our SPQR allies now. Okay, they would much prefer to try and take out our SPQR allies before they start kind of attacking our Greek city units there. That's probably what a tactic is here. You can see that several of our SPQ allies units are starting to rout now. Another big cavalry hit going in, and bang! It smashes into our allies units there. Okay, let's just pause the game for a second. Okay, so you can see here Steve has routed the Carthage Sacred Band units and is now moving his infantry over to support our flank there against Uther's Julii units there. Okay, but over there, can you see there's cavalry ready to charge in. We've got Brutio cavalry and infantry already engaged. If you notice here, I've upped spears of my Greek city's army and now moving back over to the rear there to try and support my allies there against the concerted attack of those enemy Brutio troops there. And Steve's moved his Greek city units back as well to try and support our SPQ ally against the aggressive attack of the enemy team there. Both Steve and myself are up spears so we can run our troops and now run them over there. At the moment we make contact with the enemy, we put our spears down. So that's what's happened there. But if you notice, our rear now is quite exposed to enemy attack. We're facing the enemy that are coming in, if you like, from behind us. But if you look, the rear of our units are that are engaged with the enemy now are quite exposed to cavalry attack. Okay. But both Steve and myself being aggressive with our units there. As you can see the Brutio cavalry being moved round to probably come in behind us there, possibly. And you can see the Uther's Julii infantry attacking our SPQ ally there. Right, you see Lando's got some units over there. He's got his general over there as well. Wouldn't surprise me if the Brutio cavalry targeted that. You can see there's a lot of pressure on our SBQ allies there. Some of our Greek city units are starting to rout as well. Remember, the enemy are the green and the red and Carthage. We are the purple and Greek cities here, just so you can see what's happening at a glance. Okay, here, so as you can see here, the enemy Julii infantry really pushing in. You can see a lot of our units are starting to rout. Maybe the writing's on the wall here, and we can see with so many of our units starting to rout which way the battle's going to go here. Okay, you can see enemy Brutio pushing in as well. You can see UTHER moving infantry around the rear of us. You've got Brutio cavalry smashing in to our engaged SBQ allies here. So as you can see here, things maybe not looking that good for our team. We've got enemy cavalry waiting here to charge in out there as well. As I say, the enemy are doing really well. You've got that long shield light cavalry ready to charge in as well there. So, as I say, the enemy are doing good cavalry and infantry coordinated attacks here on our allies. If you notice here, Steve's army and my army have kind of linked up here at this particular part of the battlefield. See that enemy cavalry coming in and bang as they smash into our SBQ ally, and more cavalry. And see that Julii cavalry coming in as well, and bang, more Brutio cavalry coming in, and bang, smashes straight into our SBQ ally, trying to go for his general. I think they're looking to try and take out Lando's SBQ general there. But there you go. I think that's basically, apart from Lando's general, I think possibly that is all of Lando's army taken out. Remember, he had 20 urban cohort units, and that could be the last unit he's got left now, that general unit. Because I think maybe most of the other units are Lee's units that are left there, and they're under a heck of a lot of pressure, as I say, from concerted efforts here from the enemy, really aggressively attacking. I can see lots of our units starting to rout. See that Brutio cavalry and that light cavalry, Carthage cavalry charging as well, and bang as they smash in there. And we've got Brutio cavalry coming in from this angle as well, really trying to take out our SBQ allies here. You can see that's what the enemy's intention is. They want to take out our SBQ allies there before they start concentrating on our Greek city units. You can see the massive attack that they're putting in here on our SBQ allies. I'm amazed that Lee's held so well there with all that cavalry and infantry smashing into him. So well done to Lee's army, but you can see several of his units starting to rout now under that pressure. If you notice, both Steve and myself have turned our Greek cities armies over to try and help Lee, and moving forward there. As I say, I always think when you move forward with spears or pikes, it's like a slow moving steamroller, but they tend to go over anything that they come across, and that's what we're trying to do with our Greek city units. As I say, you can see Steve and myself have linked up, our armies have linked up there against the enemy infantry. You can see the enemy moving their cavalry around there, looking for the best vantage point there to smash into us, looking at the best angles to hit us in the flank and the rear. But I think, as I say, the best thing for me and Steve to have done here is maybe to have linked up. There we can help each other out there. As I say, our SBQ allies there, if you notice, most of our SBQ allies units have now been routed. As I say, I think that's what the enemy tactics were, as I said earlier, to try and take out our SBQ allies before they start concentrating on our Greek city units. As you can see, I think that the way that their tactical attack has been thrown in on our SBQ allies, I think we can see that. I'm actually amazed on how well Lando and Lee have managed to keep those units still alive. Really, with the massive attack that they've been putting up with here from the enemy team. Let's say here, remember, we're at purple and the Greek cities. The enemy are the red, green and Carthage. Okay, so you could just tell at a glance there who's who. Okay, let's pause the game for a second. So as you can see here, Steve's moving forward aggressively with his infantry. Can you see I've split my Spartan army into two? I've got one lot facing Julii infantry over there, and I've got another lot facing Julii infantry there. We've got that Brutii infantry, enemy Brutii infantry and cavalry ready to engage. You say the enemy's still got cavalry advantage there, ready to charge into the rear or flank of our engaged troops. You can see the enemy infantry have got in all round us there now. But Lando's general still alive, which is good, giving good, helping to give good general morale bonus to all our troops. But you can see a lot of enemy Julii troops here engaging our Greek cities. Plus, you've got Brutii infantry coming in there. Plus, you can see that Brutii cavalry locked and loaded. You've got that Julii cavalry moving around the battlefield as well, smashing into selected targets. See that Julii cavalry coming in there? Bang! Going into the rear of our engaged units there with that Julii cavalry. Nice hit there by UTHER. That's those well upgraded cavalry he's still using. They're very, very battle depleted now, but he's still using them to the best of what he can there. It wouldn't surprise me if he gets some good kills in this battle with the way he's been using that cavalry so aggressively around the battlefield. But as you can see here, our Greek cities troops are basically surrounded now by enemy Julii and Brutii infantry. So our morale won't be very good there. Now we're surrounded. See, Lee still got his armoured cavalry general there. He's using to smash into the rear of enemy troops. Probably going to take out some enemy archers as well. But as I say, you can see our Greek cities units are surrounded by enemy infantry now. See that Brutii cavalry and bang! Smashed into the flank. Some of my units there, trying to start a chain rout. Now, know that our infantry have been fighting for a long time. They know our infantry will be tired. Morale will be low. If they could start getting a few of our units to rout, it could cause a chain rout. Right, you can see several of our units are starting to rout now. This could be getting near the end of the battle now with our units starting to rout. Let's pause the game for a second. Let's say here Lee's doing extremely well with his armoured cavalry general, his old school cavalry general there, taking out archer units, smashing into the rear of engaged enemy troops. He's been using that general extremely well all around the battlefield. But as you can see here, there's lots of enemy cavalry and infantry left here, and a lot of our units are starting to rout here. See, a couple more of our SPQ, our allies units, are starting to rout. So the pressure's really on us now. But if you notice, both Steve and myself being very aggressive with our Greek city units, moving forward all the time, aggressively attacking the enemy, not just standing there taking the attack. You notice Steve's moving forward there. I'm moving forward with my infantry there. You see Pompey moving his cavalry around the battlefield. There is Brutii cavalry looking to see where he can charge into a flank of maybe our engaged troops. Right, can you see he's charging that cavalry into the flank of my engaged infantry there? I can see that infantry, that cavalry coming in and bang! He charged in there. Sorry, that's Cal's cavalry there, trying to go for my general up. But luckily I saw that cavalry attack coming in. I managed to turn my Spartans to face the threat there. And we managed to rout a lot of those cavalry units. But as you can see here now, a lot of the enemy units have now been routed. As say, Steve and myself linked up, and I thought that was a good move for us to have linked up there. I've got units in with Steve's infantry there, and now we're moving forward. Okay, that's Lee's cavalry general just been taken out. But as you can see here, both Steve and myself moving forward onto the enemy Brutii infantry. It wouldn't surprise me if those Brutii infantry started to rout there. Even though our infantry is very battle depleted there, we are in a big mass moving forward there. So I think the enemy units will rout. You can see cavalry units coming in behind us, smashing into the rear of us there. You can see me. Can you see my infantry moving forward very aggressively there? I'm looking to go for UTHER's Julii general. That's where I really want to hit there. Take out his general, stop the morale bonus. And you can see moving forward there. And there we go. We've managed to rout UTHER's general there, and looks like our team has has managed to go on and win this this battle here.
Your victory could not have been in more doubt.
Just pause the game for a second. As you can see, do you remember this is where Steve and myself here, formation there, were holding against Carthage and Brutii troops there. You can see there, it's like you can see like a shore, like, you know, where seaweed washes up on the shore there kind of thing. You can see a lot of enemy dead there, but the real intensity of the battle was over here, I think. This is where we managed to hold, form our defensive formation, and we managed to hold it. But look at what we got left. 7 men, 13 men in those units. Let's have a look at mine. I got one man left in that Spartan unit, and he's still fighting. 18 men in that one, 14 in that one, 23. Steve got 19 there, 35 in that one, 43 on that one. So we have got extremely battle depleted units left, and plus we've got 3, or is it 4, of our SBQ or allies infantry left as well. So as I say, our team has managed to go on and win the battle. Okay, so as you can see, it's a close victory there, as we thought it would be. In fact, I thought it'd be very close there, but it was a very close victory there. And what I'd like to draw your attention to here is Uther's kills. 1,803 kills. Really well done for Uther. As I say, that really well upgraded cavalry and the way he was using it in coordination with infantry there got him some really good kills. So really well done to Uther. Pompey did well as well. 1,397, so well done to him. I don't think Cal or Bark probably got the kills that they wanted there, but really well played to you four. I think Steve and myself did quite good with our kills with our Greek cities army, and I think Lando did quite good as well, but I don't think Lee probably would be very happy with the kills he got. Probably didn't get the kills that he wanted there. But as I say, I hope this was a memorable battle for Rome Total War's 15th birthday. I hope it's one that you will remember. As I say, it was a close victory there. And as I say, I thought having 7 players in the game here who've been playing for 15 years is really good. I'd just like to say really well played to Uther, Cal, Bark and Pompey. Really well played, guys. Nice aggressive attack in there and nice teamwork by you guys as well. But also really well played to Brotherhood's members Steve Longshanks, Lando and Lee. Really well played to you guys as well. I'm really amazed on how well the SBQR allies held against such concerted attack there. But as I say, with having 7 players in this battle that have been playing Rome Total War for 15 years, I thought that kind of added to the birthday battle, if you like. This is Spartan Commander saying, hope you enjoyed the battle. Look forward to seeing you soon, and bye for now.